welcome back to Mama Tried. I'm Juliet, and today I have another gluten and dairy-free recipes inspo video for you. So first I want to introduce these cookbooks. If you did not watch my last video, I will link it in the video description as well. But I did mention both of these cookbooks because they have been such an amazing tool to kickstart me on this new lifestyle that I'm living. So first I have the Everything gluten-free and dairy-free cookbook, and this is like for your breakfast, lunch, dinner ideas. And then I also have the baking cookbook, so this is more for like your sweet treats and things like that. So I love these books. I'll link them in the video description for you. They have a lot of tips and tricks for going gluten and dairy-free, and the recipes so far have been really easy to follow, simple ingredients, and delicious, and that's the most important part. So enough talking, let's get into it. For the first recipe, we are making some fish tacos. So first I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees and lining a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Now I'm setting out my extra virgin olive oil and all of my spices to put on the fish. I'm just going to mix all of my spices together to add onto the fish fillets. Once all of the spices are mixed together very well, just sprinkle it on the fish fillets. Make sure that there is plenty of seasoning on there. It's going to help the fish get a little crunchy, and this just tastes amazing. Now I'm just taking about a tablespoon of olive oil and pouring it over the fish fillets. It's time to place in the oven for 12 minutes, and these came out perfect. I could literally eat these every day. They are so good. Now I'm just warming up some corn tortillas. I'm just using the end of my silicone spatula to cut the fish because it is so soft but crispy on the outside. This just turned out so good, and now I'm hungry editing this video. So you definitely have to try out this recipe if you like fish tacos at all. Afterwards, I'm just putting my leftovers in a container so I can heat up for the rest of the week, really just like 3 or 4 days. I don't do seafood after that in the fridge. Now I'm just putting some avocado on and some gluten-free dressing that I picked up at Walmart, and ta-da! These were amazing! Now I am making some savory chicken and rice soup. I don't know about you, but I could eat soup all year long. But now we're coming into fall. It's still really hot here in Texas, but I don't care. We're making some soup. So the recipe called for 3 large carrots, but carrots are my jam. So I used like 4, maybe 5. I can't really tell from this video and I don't remember, but I'm just slicing them in half and then chopping them big enough that they will fit in my little food chopper. And I know you've probably heard me talk about it before, but if you don't have this food chopper, I'll link it in the video description. I'm really not trying to influence you, but I'm telling you, you need this if you cook at all, because I hate chopping up vegetables, fruits for fruit salad. I mean, the list goes on. But a mandolin slicer, it just gives me anxiety because I'm not trying to cut my fingers off. And this thing is so safe and so fast and easy to clean. And yeah, this isn't a sponsored video, but I'm trying to help you out, girl. You need it. Or guy. I know I have some daddy trieds in here and I love you guys. I'm also chopping some celery and doing the same thing. Celery is not as much my jam, so I did follow the recipe on this one. So 1 stalk of celery. Okay, you guys, get ready, get ready, get ready. Bam! That easy. You need it. It feels like I'm doing the slap chop commercial. Anybody old enough in here to know what the slap chop commercial is? But yeah, this thing has saved me. Like, really saved me and my time in the kitchen. So I'm forever grateful. Now I am heating a large pot over medium-high heat and adding in about a tablespoon of olive oil so I can saute my carrots and celery for about 5 to 7 minutes or whenever they start to feel soft. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and dice up my chicken breast. I choose to get free-range organic chicken breast, and I'm just going to cut it or dice it into small, about 1/2-inch cubes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings in with the carrots and celery. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme leaves, 1 teaspoon of jarred minced garlic. I'm just stirring everything together very well. And I'm adding in 5 cups of organic free-range chicken broth that is gluten-free. I did not know that chicken broth had gluten in it, but it does, so make sure to read your labels. Also, another great thing about the cookbook I mentioned in the beginning of the video is the beginning has a lot of tips about going gluten and dairy free and things that normally have gluten or dairy in them that you wouldn't expect and what to look out for. The recipe called for 1/2 teaspoon of seasoned salt, but I used pink Himalayan salt, and it says 1/8 teaspoon of ground black pepper, but I actually used like 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. We love pepper around here. Now I'm going to let this come to a boil over medium-high heat, and I'm going to add my 2 5-ounce boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I diced up in 1 cup of long grain white rice, and then I'm going to let it simmer on medium heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. And there you have it, some savory chicken and rice soup. This one did not disappoint. I thought it was delicious, and we ate all of it. Next up, we are making some slow cooker lemon garlic chicken. This one was my favorite out of all of them, for real this time. So first, I am just putting my slow cooker or my crock pot on low, and I'm going to wash and quarter 4 cups of red potatoes. Do you remember my fancy schmancy chopper from the last recipe? She's back! So I am just chopping up this whole onion, and I'm going to use 1/4 of a cup to put in the crock pot. The rest I'm going to freeze and save for later. Next up, I'm going to be peeling and chopping some carrots. The recipe calls for 1 cup, but I love carrots, so I went a little over a cup, and that's okay. I'm just going to chop the ends off because they're yucky, and I'm going to cut them so they will fit in my chopper.
Get in the chopper.
Okay, I totally understand if you're going to unsubscribe, but I'm just gonna say you're missing out. Now I'm just gonna put those delicious little orange guys in the crock pot, and I'll be on to my next thing. Now I'm adding 1 tablespoon of chopped jarred garlic because I'm just trying to do it the easy way today, y'all. Now I'm just gonna give everything a little mixy mix, and we're gonna move on to the chicken. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that this recipe called for chicken thighs, I was like, maybe not, because I just don't cook chicken thighs. But this was my first time, and you guys, the chicken was so tender, so flavorful. I'm always going to use chicken thighs in recipes like this. It was delicious. So the recipe actually called for 6 thighs, but Walmart gave me 5, so that's what we're working with today. So I'm just going to cut off the super fatty parts and sprinkle with a little bit of salt and pepper and throw them in the crock pot. Now I'm just adding 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil on top evenly. Now I'm adding 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and I'm chopping up 1 whole lemon to place on top. Now it's time to cover and cook on low for 8 hours. When it's done, I'm just going to pull out all of the lemon slices and serve. I am a huge advocate for cook once, eat multiple times. And for this recipe, I think it fed me 4 or 5 times, which is amazing. And honestly, I could eat this meal again and again and again. That's why I've made it 3 times since filming this video. It is absolutely amazing and so easy just to throw in the crock pot. So a perfect fall meal for sure. It's time to make some southern chicken salad, y'all. So this is the night before. I am gonna go ahead and cook my chicken so I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. So I have 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I'm putting into a pressure cooker with 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, 1 teaspoon of powdered garlic, and 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, and 1.5 cups of gluten-free chicken broth. Now I'm going to cover it and cook this in my pressure cooker on high for 12 minutes, and I'm just going to let the pressure naturally release. Now this shredded chicken isn't just specific for this recipe. This is how I always shred my chicken for any recipe that calls for shredded chicken. So I just do it this way, and then I use a hand mixer to shred the chicken. I don't use forks or anything like that. Using a hand mixer is so much more quick. It's the easiest way, you guys. And you know I'm always looking for a shortcut. Now I'm just putting it all in a container to save for tomorrow. So fast forward to the next day. I was in a really big hurry, so I didn't measure out anything, but if you want the exact measurements, the recipe calls for 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 teaspoon of seasoned salt, 2 tablespoons of gluten and dairy-free honey mustard dressing, and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then I'm just going to mix all of that together really well. and add in my chicken. And then I'm going to peel and chop 1 gala apple and add it into the mix and just stir everything together. And I know that there's not a lot of ingredients to this one, but it doesn't make it taste any less delicious. You can eat this by itself, it's that good, or you could eat it on gluten and dairy-free bread, or with gluten and dairy-free crackers, or even with some celery. This is so yummy and so light for a good summer lunch. I'm sure I made this recipe in less than 5 minutes, just mixing everything together because my husband booked us 2 nights out of town very spontaneously. And if you're gluten and dairy free, you know the struggle of traveling. This did not come out of a recipe book. This came straight out of my pantry. I wanted to make some trail mix, so I just grabbed some stuff and I didn't measure, so I'm sorry. But I did some roasted and salted shelled pistachios. And then I also put in some gluten and dairy-free chocolate chips. And I also added in some whole cashews, some sliced almonds, and some tart dried probiotic cherries. I got these at Costco. Then I just added everything into a large bag, shook it up, and there you have some delicious trail mix. Luxie loved this trail mix too, so I will be making this one all the time. I couldn't end this video without doing a dessert recipe, so I am preheating my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and lining a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Now I'm getting out a large bowl and I'm going to put in 1 cup of dairy-free buttery spread. I'm also going to add in 3/4 cup of granulated sugar and 3/4 cup of light brown sugar packed. Now I'm going to use a hand mixer to beat all of this together until it's mixed thoroughly. Now I'm going to crack 1 egg in the mixture and add in 1 teaspoon of molasses. I'm also going to add in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. I'm going to mix up everything well again. In a separate medium-sized bowl, I'm going to add in 2.5 cups of gluten-free all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now mix the dry ingredients together very well and then combine the dry and wet ingredients and mix them together until a dough forms. I noticed that the dough was kind of crumbly, but it all worked out eventually. I just had to work with it. So first I added in 2 cups of gluten and dairy-free chocolate chips. I tried mixing it together and nothing was sticking to each other. So I got a silicone spatula and just kind of pressed the chocolate chips into the dough, and that kind of helped the dough come together better too. Now I'm just going to use a cookie scooper. I will link the one that I love in the video description for you. And I'm just going to scoop out all of my cookies. Now that all of my cookies are scooped and 2 inches apart, I'm going to put them in the oven for 8 minutes at 375. And I will warn you, for some reason, this gluten-free flour, when you're baking with it, it doesn't seem like it's done yet when it's actually done. So I left it in there a little too long and made mine a little crispy on the bottom, but I made them again and they turned out perfect by actually following the instructions for 8 to 10 minutes instead of 15 like I did or something. But they were still really good.